I was 38 when we finally moved into the house I had spent 10 long years building with my own hands. A decade of sweat, splinters, and sleepless nights poured into wood, brick, and stone, all because my wife said this was a home of her dreams. The walls still carried the scent of fresh paint that Friday afternoon. Traces of sawdust lined the floors, sunlight glinted off the kitchen counters, and my 2 kids, ages 8 and 11, were racing to the hallways, their laughter echoing through every empty room. It should have been the happiest moment of my life. Instead, it became the start of the most brutal betrayal I'd ever experienced. Her name was Renee. We'd been married nearly 13 years. At 36, she was graceful, composed, and knew exactly how to make every head in the room turn. But I'd long since learned that admiration was never enough for her. She needed constant praise, endless validation. That day, she ran her hand along the oak island I had built myself, the same one I'd sanded down over a weekend until my fingers bled. "It's perfect," she said with a soft smile. My heart swelled with pride. "It is," I told her. "We did it." But her expression shifted. The warmth vanished from her eyes, replaced by something cold and distant. "You did it," she corrected, and handed me a manila envelope. I laughed, confused. "What's this?" Her face didn't change. "Divorce papers." The laughter caught in my throat. "You're not serious," I managed to say, but she didn't even blink. The floor felt like it had disappeared beneath me. This home, every nail, every tile, I'd built for her, for us, because I believed in the life we were supposed to share. "You waited until the day we moved in?" I asked, barely holding my voice steady. "I wanted the kids to feel settled before I left," she said coolly, arms crossed. Her tone was mechanical, like she'd practiced a line over and over. "What about the kids?" I asked, "What about me?" "They'll live with me, obviously," she said flatly. "This is their home." Then I saw it, a flicker of a smirk, a brand new phone, perfume I didn't recognize. The truth hit me like a brick. There was someone else. That night, after she took the kids to her sister's place for the weekend, I sat alone in a half-furnished living room, staring at those papers. Her coffee mug still sat on the counter, lipstick smeared on the rim. My whole world had fallen silent. My phone buzzed. It was my dad. "You sound awful, Aaron," he said. "What's going on?" I told him everything. The house, the papers, Renee's cold smile. He didn't say a word until I finished. Then he said, "Bring me the documents in the morning." My father, Gerald, had been a family lawyer for 40 years before retiring. 70 years old now, still sharp as a blade. And one thing I knew for sure, he hated losing. The next morning, I handed him the envelope. He flipped through the pages, eyes narrowing, then reading faster. "This is professional work," he muttered. "Written by someone who knows the system inside and out. I bet anything it's her new boyfriend." I froze. "How can you tell?" He gave a thin smile. "Seen it too many times. A woman gets close to her lawyer, and suddenly the husbands serve papers. Let's give them a fight they won't forget." So, for the next week, I played the part of a beaten man. Renee stopped by often, sometimes with that man, Grant, a polished guy in his 40s with slick hair and a smug grin. He'd pat me on the shoulder like we were friends. "Once this is done," he'd say, "you can find a smaller place. The kids will stay here with their mom." Renee would stand beside him, arms crossed, confident she'd already won. I just nodded and kept quiet. But every time they left, I went straight to my father. For nights we worked in his study, surrounded by stacks of law books, old case files, and empty coffee mugs. That's when I remembered something. The land this house stood on, I bought it 10 years ago, before we were even married. Paid for in full, under my name only. Renee's name wasn't on anything. When I told Dad, his eyes lit up. "Son, that's the key. She doesn't have a leg to stand on." We built our case piece by piece. The title deed, payment records, receipts, emails, proof that every decision and expense came from me. Every inch of that home was mine. She had no legal claim. The day of mediation arrived. Renee walked in with Grant, both dressed like they were attending a gala. Smug smiles plastered on their faces. I sat quietly beside my father. Grant leaned back, tapping his pen. "Let's keep this simple," he said. "Renee keeps the house and custody of the kids. You'll provide alimony. Maybe keep your tools or something." Renee laughed softly. My father didn't blink. He slid a folder across the table. "Interesting proposal," he said calmly. "Considering my son purchased a property before your client even met him, here's the deed. The house belongs solely to him." He opened another file. "And here are records of your client's frequent overnight absences, credit card charges from hotel stays, and the babysitter logs from those nights. Evidence she was leaving her children to spend time with her friend." Grant's confidence faltered. Renee's face drained of color. My father leaned forward, voice cool but cutting. "We can take this to court if you prefer. But I guarantee the judge won't look kindly on a mother abandoning her children while living off her lover's income. My son is the stable parent here." The silence was thick. Grant shifted in his seat. Renee's hand shook. By the end of that meeting, the tables had turned completely. Renee left with nothing but her clothes and whatever fit into her car. The house was mine. Custody mine. No spousal support. When I brought the kids home, their laughter filled the halls again. For the first time in months, the house felt alive. Not as her dream home, but as ours. That night, as I tucked my son into bed, he whispered, "Dad, I'm glad we're here with you." I smiled, kissed his forehead. "Me too, buddy. Me too." In that moment, I realized something. I hadn't built Renee's dream home. I'd built a fortress for my children and me, one she would never set foot in again. For weeks afterward, the silence in the house felt strange. No sharp heels clicking on the tile, no perfume lingering in the air, no cutting remarks over small things. At first, I expected to see her appear in the doorway, ready to criticize something. But she never came. Instead, the house filled with peace. Leah started pinning her drawings to the fridge without fear of them being tossed. Evan filled the backyard with soccer balls and muddy footprints, laughter ringing through the air. Dinner became our favorite part of the day, spaghetti nights with sauce splattered everywhere and no one caring. It wasn't easy. Some nights, I stayed up late at the kitchen island, crunching numbers, wondering if I could keep up. Renee had been a spender, and I'd let her be. Now it was just me, a mortgage-free house, 2 kids, and bills piling up. My dad reminded me, "Son, that house isn't just wood and concrete. It's proof of what you can do. Don't forget that." So I pushed forward, took extra jobs, hired an old friend to help. Soon, the business took off. People heard about the guy who built a dream home from scratch, and calls started pouring in. What nearly broke me turned into the very thing that saved us. 6 months later, on a quiet Sunday afternoon, the doorbell rang. The kids and I had just finished making pancakes. Evan ran to answer it and froze. Renee stood there. Her hair was messy, her makeup faded. The glow she'd had when she left with Grant was gone. "Hi," she said softly. "Can I come in?" Leah pressed close to my side. Evan stared at the floor. I stepped into the doorway. "What do you want, Renee?" She hesitated. Things didn't work out with Grant. "I've been thinking maybe we could talk. About us. About the kids." I laughed bitterly. "Now you want to talk? After trying to take everything, even them?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I made mistakes, Aaron. I wasn't myself." I cut her off. "You don't get to come back just because your plan fell apart. This house, this family, they're mine now. You chose differently." Leah looked up at me and said softly, "We don't need her, Dad." Renee's face crumbled. She reached out, but Evan stepped behind me. "You should go," I told her. She stood there a moment, eyes flicking between us, then turned and walked away. That was the last time she tried to see us outside of court. My father made sure her visitation was supervised and limited. Over time, she faded from our lives completely. Years passed. The house aged with us, but never lost its warmth. Leah grew into an artist, Evan into a young engineer. Every celebration, every late-night talk, every shared meal happened within those same walls. Sometimes, I'd stand outside and look up at the house, the one I once thought was her dream, and I'd smile because it was never hers. It was ours. A fortress built from betrayal, but transformed into a home filled with laughter, peace, and second chances. Renee lost everything that day, but I gained the life we were always meant to have.